Hi there, my name is Diane, but you can just call me D. I'm super excited to come back with a video of my 5-star predictions for this year. The books I'm gonna mention are, I believe, all 2021 releases that I'm really looking forward to reading. Let's start. Alright, so the first book is Son of the Storm by Sue Davis Okungboya. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It's supposed to be released by the 11th of May 2021. First of all, this cover looks amazing. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's almost all I need to know about this book. It actually also sounds really good. It's a fantasy that is set in a world inspired by pre-colonial empires of West Africa. I kind of like that we start to hear more about the books that are not necessarily inspired or set in the Western world. From what I understand, is a scholar that hasn't really left his city. There's some mystery around what lies beyond the walls. He's gonna stumble upon some secrets potentially and learn about the history of it all. And there's also forbidden magic, so I'm sold. Yes, it sounds so good. Next, we have In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. It came out on April 20th, 2021. This sounds like a really fun young adult fantasy. It's pitched as The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue meets Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know that first book, but obviously I know about the movies. It sounds like a lot of fun and something that's cute. A young prince is going into his coming of age tour. He's on a ship and he has to watch over a prisoner. Things happen and he ends up being captured by pirates. I'm assuming that someone comes and rescue him. It sounds really... I'm excited to just read something that's, you know, easy, simple, and adorable. So I'm super excited. I also have to say that the cover is beautiful and it just sounds like something that I would definitely enjoy as a feel-good book. Next we have Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. It was out on the 23rd of March. I'm extremely excited about this book. I believe it's a retelling of Peter Pan, but from Wendy's perspective. It sounds very intriguing. There's this town where children have been disappearing, and I guess it's tied up with Wendy's past, and she has to find out what is happening. The reason was so appealing to me, it's not because it's a Peter Pan retelling, but it's because it was written by Aidan Thomas. I have loved their first book, Cemetery Boys. Like, I have loved that book so much. I read it a couple of months ago and I'm still, you know, on this book hangover from it. I just felt so much with this book that I'm really excited to see what else they can do. They had done such a beautiful job of creating characters that you could believe in and feel for them and root for them. I can say that most of the books I read, I feel that way, so I'm just really excited that I read a book by them this year and I get to read another book also this year by them. So definitely a 5-star prediction for me. The next book that we have is an epic LGBTQ romance fantasy. This is actually the second book in the Midnight Lie series. It's called The Hollow Heart by Mary Rutkowski. It comes out on September 14th. I am a fan of her writing. It's a bit more on the lyrical side, but it's also still straight to the point. The story of the Midnight Lie was great, but the characters is really what sold it to me. And I also love the relationship in there. It was giggle worthy. So I'm really excited to get back into this world. It's the story about Nirim, who lives in this world where people are categorized into specific classes that defines who you are and how you're treated and how valued you are to the society. So she's in the lowest class. Oh, hello. birdie? Do you want to say hello to the birdie? But then she meets Sid, who is... There's potential talk about magic. Oh, dude. But there is some rumors about magic. The banter between those two was amazing. I'm super excited for the second book. Hopefully it will be just as good. Then we have The Witch King by H.E. Edmond. It's supposed to come out on June 1st. The cover is just fantastic. It's so powerful. I just cannot wait to get into that world. Honestly, the blurb is all I need to know about it. It's fantastic, so I'm gonna actually read it to you. To save a fair kingdom, a trans witch must face his traumatic past and the royal fiancé he left behind. Yes, please. It's a past relationship in fantasy. I don't think I've read something like that before or to that level, so I'm really interested. Then we have The Bronzed Beasts by Roshani Chokshi. It's expected to come out on the 21st of September. It's the third book in the Gilded Wolves series. I believe there's another one after that, and that should be it. I have been raving about this series. There are heists, there is a group of misfits, but there's so much more to it. Also, it's really well crafted, it's thought through. It almost makes me think of that Nicolas Cage movie. There's a lot of adventure, but you also care about the relationships. You also care about the people that are in there. There's some twists and turns. It's very fun to read, but it also makes you feel a lot. Also want to read the next book of Riley Sager. It's called Survive the Night. It comes out July 6th. I'm not super intrigued about this plot, but I have been loving his recent books. I've kind of decided that he's an auto-read author for me. So it's called Surviving the Night, and basically there's this college student who is in a car with a man who may or may not be a serial killer. So, I mean, it does sound interesting, not gonna lie, it does sound interesting. So, yeah, definitely I'm expecting this to be a 5-star. So then we have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and I don't really know much about this book. I know it's a middle grade contemporary fantasy, and it sounds a little bit like his previous book called The House in the Cerulean Sea. Apparently there's a ghost who refuses to cross over, and there is a ferryman, and so I guess they're just gonna interact, and that's gonna be what it's gonna be about. I have to say that his last book, I read it and I really fell in love with his characters. I mean, the story is not necessarily plot driven, it's very much so character driven, and it's not necessarily a perfect book, but it was so charming and comforting at times. I wanted more. I didn't want to finish that book, and I'm still having a little bit of a book hangover also for this one, so I'm really excited to be able to read another of his work, which does sound kind of similar to his last ones. I'm really excited. I fell in love with that book, so I have no doubt that this one has a huge potential of being a 5-star also. Then we have The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. So it was first published on March 23rd. I believe this is adult fantasy with a lesbian protagonist. It sounds really cool. It's this soldier who has been sent to stop a rebellion, I think, and it sounds like there's gonna be a lot of political strategy potentially. You know, as usual with my adult high fantasies, I don't need to know exactly what's going on. I just need to know that it has a little bit of politics and assassinations and things like that. The last book I want to talk about is No Gods, No Monsters by Cadwell Turnbull. It's supposed to come out September 7th. It says that it's about police brutality mixed with fantasy also. There's a secret society, people are disappearing, and I think maybe this book is trying to draw a parallel with the real world, so I'll be really intrigued to see what the commentary is on and just discover this author because I've heard a lot of good things about them. Some other books I'm just gonna quickly mention. Malice by Heather Walter. It came out on April 20th. This is some sort of a retelling but make it queer. Blade of Secrets by Trisha Levenseller. I know that this is fantasy with a character who has anxiety, so I would be really interested to read that. And it comes out May 4th. And finally there's Hold Back the Tide by Melinda Salisbury, and this is a story of someone who is living with a murderer. It came out on January 5th. But yeah, that's it for today. That's all the books that I'm really expecting to enjoy. Hopefully they will be 5 stars, but even if they're like 4 stars, it will be amazing, and I can't wait to read all of them. If you plan on reading any of those books, just let me know in the comments down below, or if you have read them, let me know what you thought about them. And if you have any recommendation that you think could potentially be 5 stars, I would love to hear them. Make sure to like this video if you like talking about books, and subscribe to this channel if you want more content from me. Bye!